welcome to Digging Deep, a sport podcast with former Major League All-Star Russ Ortiz and sports writer Jesus Ortiz, and our special guest today, Roy Oswalt, former All-Star, arguably the greatest pitcher in Astros history. Roy, welcome. How are you?
Good. How you guys?
We're doing well. How are you, Russ?
Doing well. Excited to see Roy and talk to Roy today.
Well, you guys won a lot of games, over 100 games, and had great careers, great pitchers. Like I said, two-time 20-game winner for Roy, 20-game winner for Russ. And pitching is what you guys probably know better than, 99% of the world, 99.9% of the world. And pitching's been in the, been in the news a lot lately. We're going to talk about that a lot today. But first of all, Roy, for people who don't know, what have you been up to the last few years? I know you just opened a restaurant in Mississippi. Tell us what you've been up to lately.
Man, I've been in a little bit of everything. I'm still flying a good bit on the side, and we just opened up a really nice restaurant here in Starkville. We've been needing something like this caliber type food here for a while. A friend of mine got together, and he had been in the restaurant business probably around 20 or 25 years. So he really knew the restaurant business well. We got a lot of good help from all over the world. Actually, we have a cook from Miami. We have a general manager that came out of Pensacola. We actually got some bartenders that bartended on 38 down around Panama and Destin. We have a really good lineup in the kitchen also. So our plan is to make this one kind of go for the next 2 months and open up a steakhouse called 44 Prime within probably 60 days and kind of feed off each other. We're opening a market in front of the steakhouse to kind of offset some of that cost with Prime Steaks here in Starkville. We're gonna have about 60 seats in the Prime Steakhouse department, and should be a lot of fun. We've had a lot of success so far. Everyone here is loving it. It's a new restaurant. I know it kind of wear off after a while, but right now the buzz around town is really good. The food's been great. Hadn't had anybody really complain about the food. The service is top notch. We actually trained our employees 3 to 4 weeks before we even opened. Every day they had a classroom where they have to know the menu from front to back, so that when you go in there, you know exactly what you're getting. And doing really well. We've done that. I've also have some different businesses in different states, so I've been pretty busy. Actually, told someone the other day, it seemed like when I played baseball, it was a little less headache than I got going on right now.
That's what I say too. Hey, so with your restaurant, I mean, when we go on the road a lot, we go to a lot of restaurants, nice restaurants. I mean, did you take any of the experiences just being on the road to this new venture?
Yeah, I think that was the number one thing that I was trying to bring into Starkville. A lot of people didn't get the chance to eat at the places that we got to eat at on the road. Some of the top quality food and restaurants around the world. So I tried to take some of that a little bit from everywhere I've been. The steakhouse that we're opening, we don't have anything within probably 90 miles of Starkville that's remotely close to what we're about to open here in Prime. A lot of companies here sell select and choice meat. We're going to try to do Prime, and with the town is on a big buzz right now, winning national championship in baseball. So we're actually hitting it just right. We got some good locations, and like I said, I think the number one thing that the people are really liking is the service. Service is top notch. Just great waitresses, great kitchen staff. Food comes out, perfect. Seems like every time, and I think it's going to be a real successful.
Well, that's exciting to hear. So when I go down there and the Aggies put a beat down on Mississippi State, we'll have to take a bunch of Aggies there, right? And
I got you hooked up.
All right. Can you tell us the name again, just so everybody listening?
The first restaurant we just opened is called Taste. And the second one's going to be 44 Prime, kind of after my number.
Yep, sweet. And
That's awesome.
And Taste opened like the week of the College World Series, right? Because I remember
it did. We was trying to catch the regional, super regionals here, and we missed it by a week, but it did open up the week of the College World Series, and it's been doing really well. Like I said, I've been getting a lot of compliments on it. People are just buzzing about the quality of the food there. So I'm hoping, you know, we're going to feed off this, and we already started on the next restaurant. Should be open in 60 days.
Oh, sweet. Right in time for football season. So I need to check the schedule, but I'll definitely be down there. And I still remember and look back fondly, and obviously it's a little bit farther, but visiting your house, your hometown in Ware, Mississippi, and you live closer to Starkville now full time, right? You've made that your home, and how do you like living there?
It's been great. You know, we moved here in 2010. The girls love it. There's a little more to do here than where I grew up. You know, it's just more people and a lot more stuff to be involved in. It's been a great move for us. The restaurant actually that you got to come to that I opened in Ware, I actually moved that building to Starkville, and there's another restaurant in it now. So a guy is actually renting it from me, and it's called a Breakfast Club. They have a big breakfast in the morning. It's just open breakfast and lunch. Oh,
sweet. So Roy, you know, we were talking. I'll put you guys both on the spot here. So we were texting the other day, and then I see Russ drinking out of his OU cup.
Oh, did you see that?
You know, he won a national championship. He won a College World Series in OU, in case you didn't know, Roy. But I think that was the last time OU won anything, right? Russ?
I believe so. About the 80s.
But you know, it's pretty amazing when pitchers hit. And y'all were talking a little trash to each other. So Russ, tell us about that home run.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Roy knows. I mean, I know Roy took hitting seriously too, because I mean, you know, that keeps you in the games, and shoot, you know, it's about winning ball games. But yeah, I mean, when I was with the Braves, you know, I had to face Roy, and it's not easy. I got to tell you, I mean, but looking back, I mean, you know, I joke with him, and when I got to play with him in Houston in 2009, you know, just kind of messing with him, whatever. But I mean, realistically, he threw, I think it was a two-seamer, or it may have moved or whatever, but I just threw my bat down, and I mean, but it was probably in 93, 94 range, you know, miles per hour. And so it just looked good. It looked really good for me, and not so good for him. But the funny part is that after that home run, he came out of the game. So that's my big thing, is I tell people that you know, I got Roy out of the game after my he claims he had an injury, but you know, I don't know. So, but it was just kind of funny, because when we got to play together, it was you know, I hit the home run, and it was a good one. I'm not gonna lie, it was a good one. But,
good thing you're not gonna lie about it.
I thought, wasn't it like a groin injury or something with your leg or whatever? But
yeah, I think I was pitching one-legged most of that game. So I was trying to give the Braves a fighting chance, but yeah. I had to come out.
Was that in 2003, Russ? Because I know in 2000, if it was in 2003, Roy had 3 groin injuries, if I remember, and I covered that.
It was early. I know it was the first 3 years of my career, so it had to be either. But 02, I didn't miss, I don't think. 01, I missed a little bit right before we went into the playoffs in 01.
03 or 04 for sure, obviously, because that was the year.
It would be 03 if he left, because I still remember, and there are moments that you remember. So Roy's younger than me, but not by much. Kind of like you, Russ. Like you guys are younger than me, but we went through a lot of the same things in life. You know, had kids about the same time, and just talked a lot about that. But I still remember Milwaukee I think it was your third groin injury that year, because you had 3 stints on the DL. And one of them actually led to one of the greatest moments in Astros history, June 11, 2003. Roy comes out and is lights out in that first inning against the Yankees. And then I think you came out to try to start the second, and then you had to leave. And then the Astros throw a 6-pitcher no-hitter. And George Steinbrenner actually complained that Jimmy Williams was trying to show up the Yankees. And I'm like, how do you show up the Yankees on the day that you have to use 6 pitchers, right? But it was the first 6-pitcher no-hitter in franchise history. But then I remember Milwaukee, and Roy, I just always had like great respect, but kind of like I genuinely liked Roy, like as a person, as what he stood for. And I don't know if you even remember this conversation, Roy, but I said, Roy, how old are you? And obviously I knew how old Roy was, and Roy knew I knew how, and he looks at me like I'm stupid. And then I said, dude, why are you pitching with like, and I don't know if you remember this, but I said, you look like a Mexican League pitcher out there. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, you're flipping curveball after curveball. I know you're hurt. Because, I mean, here's Roy Oswalt with like this amazing fastball, right? And he has a great curveball also. But all he threw that day was curveball. And I'm like, dude looks like he's in the Mexican League, like this 45-year-old in the Mexican League, and he was dominating, but still. And then you went on the DL and did you end up having groin surgery?
I had surgery in 03, end of 03. As soon as the season was over, I flew to Philadelphia and had surgery. And, you know, knock on wood, I've never had a problem after that. I got to win 20 the next year and actually got to, you know, throw 36 games that year. But yeah, that whole year, it was a battle just to stay out on the field. It just seemed like anytime I really wanted to get after it, you know, it bothered me. So I was trying to kind of maneuver through the season, you know, and win as many games I could for the team. But it was one of those things where being young, you know, my whole goal was to try to win a World Series with the Astros. And I knew if I could be out on the field, I gave a real good chance for the team to win. So I was doing everything possible to stay out there. Some games I hurt us, I think, more than others, but there were some games that I was able to, you know, dodge and weave through the game and get us 6 or 7 innings in before I had to come out.
And obviously everybody knows 2005, 2004, you pitched with some amazing horses. Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte. Andy Pettitte couldn't finish the 2004 season. He had I think it was elbow injury, but he had an injury that shut him down in August for the season. But you were the ace of that staff with those Hall of Famers, with one guy who should be a Hall of Famer. He's not yet for some crazy reason, but well, we know why. And the mentality of being great, of being the horse. In Digging Deep in our T-Squared podcast, we focus on the story. We try to dig deep to find out what makes people special. And you always had that confidence. And I still remember Tim Redding, you were both young at the same time when Roger came, and Tim was just following Roger everywhere. And I forget who asked you, and they said, you know, like, are you going to follow them? And you answered to the effect of like, no, I'm the #1 starter. Like you're like, no, dude, like I'm Roy Oswalt. Like, no, I'm good. And what's that mindset? Tell me, where did you develop that mindset, and how do guys, you know, how do alpha males stay alpha males among other alpha males?
I think it comes at a young age. A lot of it being, you know, taught at a young age. It doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. You can compete with anyone if you put the work into it, you know, to do it. And, you know, when Roger and Andy came over, it was a big plus for me because it pushed me even harder than before they got there. I knew those guys were going to come in and be who they are and win games. But my whole mindset was, they're not going to beat me. You know, they're not going to win more games than I am. They're not going to throw, you know, more innings than I am. They're not going to get their team, you know, more quality starts than I am. That was my whole goal going into it. I was glad to get them because I knew that was going to push us over the edge to be able to get to the World Series. But, you know, my thing was, you you're always rooting for your other starters, any team you're on, but you're also rooting for yourself to be better than them. And, anybody that comes into a game and expects not to be the number one starter on the team, I don't want that guy on my squad. I want them to believe that they have number one type stuff, and they should be able to be out there anytime in a crucial part of the game. So, when Roger and them came over with all the credentials they had, I knew that I had the stuff to be as good or better than they were any time in their career. So I wasn't about to let those guys beat me, in anything they did. Doesn't matter what they was doing. So it pushed me along the way. And it actually, I learned a lot from Roger, some of the work ethic he had, some of the things he did before the game, studying hitters that I didn't do before he got there. I relied on pure stuff when I got into the big leagues and didn't really study the game as much as I did when I started winning 20 games. After Roger got there, reading certain batters, kind of picking up different things from games before, going in the video room, picking out different situations in a game where a guy may be trying to lean out over the plate, hit the ball the other way, pick up little tendencies like that that I wouldn't probably have learned until he got there. So I picked up a lot from those guys. Andy's the same way. Andy's a tremendous competitor. He's a totally different person on the day he pitches than the day he don't pitch. I remember him talking to himself in the dugout all the time after he comes out of the game. And I was wondering who he was talking to, but he had like an imaginary friend sitting beside him or something. I don't know what it was. But he was in a tunnel one day, and I'll tell a little story on Andy. He was in a tunnel one day, and he's talking to the column. Now the column coming down into the dugout. And now the column, just a concrete column there, and he's having a full-fledged conversation with his column in the third inning of the game, and he's asking this column how in the world did he give up a hit to Gary Matthews Jr. He's like, how did I give up this hit? And I'm watching him talk to this column, thinking, it's not going to say anything back. I don't really know what you're doing here. But he's in his own zone the day he pitches. Same thing with Roger. Roger would be down in the hole, we call it, but below the dugout, and he'd given up, I think, 2 hits in 5 innings against, I don't know, Milwaukee maybe. And I walked down to run up to the clubhouse real quick and go to the bathroom, and Roger jumps on me pretty much like a blind, and they got to have my pitches. Oh, they got to have my pitches. And I'm thinking, man, you only give up 2 hits. How in the world they got your pitches? He's like, they got that swing of that curveball. They should have swung at that curveball. And I'm like, man, what in the world is going on? So he made me go up and actually watch 2 innings on the TV to see if they would pick it up, and see if I could pick up something off him for him tipping pitches. And he gave up 2 hits.
Wow. Well, that's pretty impressive. I hope we didn't just lose Roy. I think it froze a little bit, but that's a great story. Oh, there you go. We lost you there for a little bit. That's a great story.
It was just a big plus getting to play with those guys at a young age, because it made me that much better. Going from, even when I left Houston and was able to go to Philly, pitching with Doc Holliday and Cliff Lee and Cole Hamels. Just got to pitch on some great pitching staffs, and we try to push each other along the way, make each other better, win ball games for our team.
Yeah, you mentioned having the mentality of being the top guy, and that you not wanting other players that are part of the staff to have any other mentality but that, and I think you're right on where the having, let's say 3, 4, and if you're lucky, 5 guys that have the mentality that they can go out and win anytime. That's a special thing. And I'm sure you've had plenty of guys come through that you played with that have that mentality, but help people understand when you say compete against one another. I think, especially people nowadays, I think they think, well, it's an unhealthy thing to compete against one another in the starter rotation on the same team. I know what you mean, but help people understand, like, what do you mean by that? Because, you know, you're not competing against your own teammates, but there's a thing amongst starters, you know, especially in the days that we played, that, you know, there is competition, but it is healthy. And so if you can just kind of touch on that to help people understand what that competition against starters means.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, you know, you're not rooting against your guy, you know, for us. I hope he gives up a couple of runs, because I'm not going to give up any. It's a friendly, you know, when you get older, you kind of look back at it as like when I let you hit the home run, I'll let you get on me a little bit for that. So it's kind of a competition amongst everybody, you know. But yeah, it's a friendly competition, you know, amongst each other, you know, going in that. If you don't have that mentality that you want to be the best, then I don't want you on the team. You know, that's just the way I look at it. Guys that go out there and think, well, I'm not as good as him, or I'm not. No, that's not the attitude that I want going into the game. I want the attitude where I'm going to not only beat you, I'm going to embarrass you on the other team. And that's the way I've always been, you know, taught to come up is let's go out there and win the game and try to, you know, blow the opponent away instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to go out here and compete. You know, take it to the extreme if you have to, and try to build that mentality amongst your teammates. I think one of the best things is I had a great football coach growing up in high school that we never went into a game wondering if we was going to win the game or not. We always went into the game and wondering how bad we was going to win. And he taught that, you know, coming through high school. Hey, let's, you know, we never talked about, this team's better than us, we got to play at top of our level. We went into the game thinking, well, we're going to beat them by 4 touchdowns, you know, or 5 touchdowns, and not never have that mentality creep into your mind that you may lose the game. And one thing that I like about that I tried to establish amongst the starters when I was there is you're a team inside of a team. You have 5 guys. To me, that's a team inside of the team that you play for. So one thing that I like trying to do is when I was at Houston and Philadelphia, all these guys, we all hung out together. We sat on the dugout together. We went to eat together. We hung out together, because the more you bring family-oriented amongst the staff, the better everybody pulls for each other when they're out there. And when we got to Philly, you know, anytime we went out, it was mostly all 5 of us. One of the best things I ever saw is Doc Holliday was real big into it, keeping all 4 or 5 guys together. When we went and did stuff, I remember they was trying to exclude Joe Blanton the years that we was up there in 2010 and 2011. And we was doing a photo shoot, and they would say, hey, we just need you 4 guys, Doc, you, Cole Hamilton, and Cliff Lee. And Doc told us, no, we're not doing a photo shoot unless you include Joe Blanton. I mean, he's going to fit a starter. You're not going to just leave him out. Yeah. And even though, you know, Joe didn't really have the wins or the ERA or stuff that some of us had, he was part of the 5 that we had in the starting staff, and with a great pitcher. Joe, I think, went on to win more World Series than all 4 of us together. He won 1 or 2 with Kansas City and with Philly, and I think he was on another team. I think he ended up having 3 or 4. Anyway, so I really like that part. You know, you have a team inside of a team. You pull for each other, but it is a friendly competition. You know, when Doc was doing his thing up there in Philly, we went into the playoffs, and he threw a no-hitter against the Reds, and I was thinking that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough to top. You know, perfect game. That's the only thing we're going to do here to be able to top that. But it put pressure on me to be good too, and go out there and do the best you can. And Doc felt the same way. He loved pitching with me. He loved the competition amongst each other, and try to win ball games.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing, it's key for people to understand is that, like when you would pitch, whoever's coming behind you is trying to do better than what you did, not because they want the notoriety in front of Roy Oswalt, but because it's just that's the competition part. And you know, you go out and throw a good game, one, help save the bullpen. The next guy is going to do the same thing. And then the next guy is going to go out and try to do the same thing or better. And I think one of the things that's key also to mention is that your bullpen appreciates that. Your position players appreciate that. Obviously the manager, the fans, and all that stuff. But it you know, it builds more camaraderie. You know, hanging out, I think, together as starters is crucial, but it also builds more camaraderie because, you know, then you start to know, like, we can feed off of each other. And if one guy kind of, you know, you have two great starts, one bad start, maybe an okay start, well, you need to figure out what it is that you need to do to fix that issue. And that's where the camaraderie, the closeness can kind of come in, to where, you know, you may go talk to a guy, just like, look, man, you know, whatever it is you have to say to them, advice, you know, to help them. And, you know, because you guys want to keep this train rolling and be able to go out every night and have the other team think we're going to have a tough time every single night because these guys are ready and they come after you and they don't let up. And, you know, and that's the one thing I saw when I got to, well, from afar, from the other dugout, I saw with you is, you know, you weren't going to, you didn't seem like you feared anybody. You didn't fear the attention, you know, being on the bump in crucial situations. And that's something you kept all year long. And then when I got to actually play with you, it was a lot more fun to watch because I know for a fact you didn't fear anybody, and you went out and you did have that attitude of like I'm going to beat you and I'm going to beat you bad. Like I'm going to try to embarrass every single one of you. And then I got to see that when we were in Cooperstown together playing in that Hall of Fame game when we're retired. He did the same thing. And I mean, I was like, that was pretty cool. I mean, the hitters didn't appreciate that because you're probably throwing low 90s still at that time, but, you know, at Doubleday Field. But I mean, that's the mentality that you came with. And, you know, and that's something that I loved watching as a fan of the game, and, you know, appreciated as a teammate, because when I got plugged into the starting rotation, like, I was trying to take your lead and say, you know, like, I can do that as well, and like, let's go. And so I just want to say, man, just from a fan of baseball, like, I loved your mentality, you know, on the mound, and then, you know, get to know you as a person, and then seeing how that plays out, and your leadership is top notch, man. I think,
you know, I think one of the key things that we're missing today in the game, and I'm not involved in the game as much as I was, you know, especially when I played. But I think the biggest thing now is these guys are so individualized as starters, instead of that family-oriented 5-team guys together trying to pull each other. I think social media has pulled guys away from being together now. They're trying to have the most Twitter followers, or trying to do the most something that would get you know, go start streaming on Twitter by doing something crazy on the field or whatever it is. It's just
marketing opportunities, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not as team oriented as it used to be, and I really hope that comes back to the game, that guys are you know, hanging out together a little more, not being individualized and not trying to market their self. That's one of the number one things that I didn't like about the new, you know, the new era of the game, is let's market the team. Let's be a team and market us instead of me. And I think the game sometimes it's changed in the last couple of years, and let's market ourselves and see if, you know, if we can get more money myself, or see if we can get more Twitter followers because I do a certain thing when I strike out somebody or I hit a home run, and try to not be individualized as much and try to be a team more.
Well, you're listening to Digging Deep, in our T-Squared podcast with former Major League All-Star Russ Ortiz and sports writer Jesus Ortiz, and our special guest, former Major League All-Star, former Astros ace Roy Oswalt. Roy, piggyback a little bit on what you guys have talked about, and I'll bring this up because you both have I think have similar ideas. We've talked about it via text. The cheating that's going on now, the complaints. You've both called bull on pitchers on social media, on pitchers who say they can't pitch now because of the grips. What are your thoughts on everything that's going on right now with the foreign substance? Russ, you know, we've talked at length about this, and he says he used to use some stuff to get the grip. Roy, did you ever use any substance to get a special grip? And also, what are your thoughts on, you know, guys like Trevor Bauer or Gerrit Cole, all these guys making a lot of money, complaining about the inability to use this special Spider Tack or whatever?
Hey, will y'all give me 2 seconds?
Sure.
Yeah, I think you know, it's important to realize, you know, like right now, everything is like very specific to something that's really, really, really tacky, you know, and it's like extra tacky. And so that's the part to where I don't remember back in the day, maybe just a very few guys, but back in the day, like, but right now it just seems to be like everybody's talking about something that's very, very tacky. And that's where I'm like, you know, to have to use that to be able to have a grip on the ball, that's where I call BS, you know, because like I've mentioned before, for me, it was about having moisture on my hand so I can rub up the ball nice. And then I just lick my fingers before I throw a pitch, again, to have moisture so then I can throw whatever I needed to throw. It wasn't about tackiness, and that's the difference, you know, that I see. Then that's why I call BS, because you don't need it. You don't need basically something that you put on the ball where you can put, you know, if you put it on your hand or on the ball and the ball sticks to your hand, that's where I'm like, you know, to say that you have to have that on the ball, I don't believe that for 1 second.
You know, that's where you know how I am about the game. I love the integrity of the game, the way it's played, the rules of the game. You know, I was a big guy, outspoken about the steroid era, because you have a guy out there as myself trying to compete with some of these guys that already was all-stars before they started it, and now they're taking a substance that makes them even better. And now the numbers are getting blown out of proportion. So the guys that's doing naturally, that's throwing up really good numbers, are getting compared to the guys that were throwing up, you know, inflated numbers. So you miss out on so many things for the awards, contracts. You get compared to a guy that's doing it not with his natural talent. And I was outspoken to really, you know, a lot about the steroid era, because I got to play in part of it, and competing against those guys was really tough, because some of those guys was all-star guys already before they took it, and to make themselves that much better by taking it. So with this sticky stuff, you know, when I started seeing this come out, the way the guys were almost crying about not getting a cheat in the game just really blew my mind, that guys were so afraid to pitch without anything. They almost was scared to go out on the mound, and they have great stuff, but they have used this stuff so long that now they rely on it. And being a guy that I never used anything. I didn't even really like the rosin bag. I'm gonna say you could probably go back and look at all my starts, and I may have touched that rosin bag, I'm gonna say, a handful of times on different, you know, places, maybe in Colorado or something, where the ball was kind of cue ball feeling. My whole thing with pitching was I wanted to feel the ball in the last, you know, fingertips. I wanted to be able to feel that ball the way it come off of my hand. And, you know, there was guys that I knew that would put, you know, put pine tar a little bit in their glove to get a little bit of tackiness, you know, with the ball. But I never liked that just because I thought that was the wrong way to do it. I mean, that's just me. You know, there's a set standard of rules at any game that you play. There's got to be rules, and you can't bend these rules, break them, or whatever to make a personal gain for yourself. Because now you're doing something another player can't do because he's following the rules, and you're making yourself that much better by being able to spin the ball, you know, faster, tighter, make your curveball better. You know, the whole thing these days is spin rate. But spin rate was around when I was there because my whole thing was on my 4-seam fastball, I was trying to make that thing as true as possible, 12-6 spin, and spin it as fast as possible on the rotation. That would make my ball plane out, you know, at the last 6 or 8 feet of the plate. So guys a lot of time would swing under it. It would never really rise, but it would stay on the same plane. So guys think, you know, the ball took off on me. It took off on me. Well, I'm trying to spin the ball. Well, now if you're adding something to the ball, yes, you can spin that ball even faster. I mean, if you'll just go back, and I've read some things about Cole, about his spin rate from Pittsburgh to Houston to now. And in Pittsburgh, Cole was a good pitcher, but wasn't a pitcher that he was the last 3 years, 4 years. And now going back, you're looking at it, well, maybe in Pittsburgh he didn't use anything. In the last 3 or 4 years, he used something. He got I don't know what he got, $300 million contract by using sticky stuff. And would he have got that contract if he didn't have it? So now you're talking about a totally different animal there. You know, would that guy of 120 games, would he want a Cy Young? Would he have struck out 300 people? I mean, you're asking a lot of questions there that he may have not done without it. So is that fair for a guy that didn't quite strike out 300, that did it naturally, struck out 250, or he threw, you know, 240 innings instead of 270 innings or whatever he threw because he didn't go deep into the ball game because he didn't get that many more strikeouts during the game, so it made his pitch count go up, so he had to come out a little quicker. There's a lot of things that goes into this, and people don't look at it. You know, an average fan looks at it, well, he's on my team. Everybody needs to use sticky stuff because Cole used it or whoever used it, and it's just sticky stuff. He don't want to hit anybody. Well, if you're a major league professional pitcher and you can't throw a strike without sticky stuff.
Yeah, that's a problem. And I know Roy got frozen real quick, but I mean that's the thing. I think Roy and I are on the same exact page right there. Is that you know, if you're a major league pitcher and you're afraid that you're gonna hit guys or not be able to throw strikes without, you know, some Spider Tack or whatever on the ball, then I don't know how you got there in the first place. I mean, for me, so I don't. Roy, your screen froze just a little bit, so I don't know if there was a final.
Yeah, I was just saying that these guys have gotten, you know, away with it for a while now, and I think, you know, it's almost in their mind now that they can't do it because they don't have it. I know these guys are talented enough to be able to throw the ball without anything on their hand, but it goes back to the rules. You know, I keep going back to the rules. You know, everyone said, well, you know, he's getting a little extra grip. No, he's getting a little more spin. He's getting a little more break on his pitches. So that's going to make his numbers better. You know, if I go sign a guy, if I was an owner of a team and I go sign a guy and I sign him for $500 million, whatever the number is, and this guy comes out and next thing he knows, he's been cheating at the game for the last 2 or 3 years. And so the numbers that I signed him on are not the true numbers that he is. I have a problem with that, you know, because now does Cole figure it out in New York, or does he go back and pitch like he did in Pittsburgh? You know, so is he a $300 million guy or was he a $150 million guy? You know, there's a lot of questions got to be answered. And look, time will tell over the next couple of years if he'll ever learn how to do it the right way and follow the rules and do it the right way. You know, if they don't get this thing under control now, they'll never get it under control. And if they fold to this, then all the numbers that's been put up should be, I guess, added to because we didn't get to use it. I didn't use it. You know, a lot of people when I played never used anything. It wasn't around. Spider Tack wasn't around when I was there. Like I said, some guys would get some rosin on cold days. I didn't do it. I didn't like that. That's just me. There's a lot of guys took steroids. I didn't like that either. But I mean, so to me, the numbers are inflated because they used something. They cheated at the game. They made the numbers inflate. There's a lot of things that can be said on these, guys that use it. It was already good and made the stuff that much better. And I always have a problem with it not going by the rules of the game, because if you have, anytime you play a game and you bend the rules in your favor to make you even that much better, then you're taking away from the whole game, and you're not treating the game the way it should be treated.
We're listening to Esquina's Digging Deep, an Ortiz2 podcast with former Major League All-Star Russ Ortiz and sports writer Jesus Ortiz, and our special guest today, former Astros ace, former All-Star Roy Oswalt. Roy, our producer, we're going to just pivot a little bit just to have a little fun before we go to another series. I want to discuss Trevor Bauer and what happened with Dave Stewart deciding that he will not go to the 1981 reunion at Dodger Stadium. But before that, Francisco has a graphic he wants to share on Russ Ortiz. Russ Ortiz, I guess he was a pretty good hitter. He was 3 for 3 with a walk.
Wow.
You singled in 3 consecutive innings?
Nobody really knew this, but Ortiz was really a hitter. He wasn't a pitcher. He just had himself as a pitcher.
Oh, I guess that was his career high. That was his career high. So 3 hits, but that's pretty impressive. That's
funny. Yeah, I mean, when you have and Roy can handle the bat too. So anytime that you have a pitcher that that can handle the bat, and when you have someone like Roy that's one of the best in the game, and can be able to handle the bat. I mean, that can be a scary combo. And so that's the thing I always took a lot of pride in is being able to be someone that on the offensive side that can contribute and stuff. And so those are always, that's definitely fun. And, but you realize as a hitter, having to face guys like Roy, like how hard hitting is. And I thought it actually helped me as a pitcher to not give the hitter so much credit, because you realize how hard it is. And so that allowed me to go out on the mound and not try to be so perfect every time, and realize that, these guys struggle too. And it's not easy for them as well. And so that helped me gain more confidence. And so I don't know, Roy, how did you hitting and actually facing top major league pitchers, did that help you on the mound to kind of get rid of any hesitancy at all?
That's probably the number one thing that probably made me a better pitcher is actually facing guys, because when you come from I came out of high school, I hit with most of the guys in high school throwing 70 to 78 miles per hour. So I'm thinking, man, this is gravy right here. It's good hit speed. But then you go to, college, and my college coach, the first at bat I had in college, they hit me in the ribs the first at bat. And he said, that's it. You're not hitting no more, and we don't need to lose you. So I didn't get to hit in college, and then I didn't hit in minor leagues for the first 2 years while I was in A-ball. So I haven't seen live pitching for 5 years until I got to AA. And the first guy I was facing was throwing 95. I'm thinking, good Lord, how in the world, I'm going to get a hit off this, and he's throwing slider, sinker. So it made me actually throw my fastball more, because I got where, I threw a lot of breaking pitches when I first got to minor leagues, because that was the hardest thing for me to hit in high school, with the breaking pitch. The fastball wasn't. So once I saw it firsthand at 95, sinking and cutting, I'm thinking I'm going to start using that heater a little more. So it made me a better pitcher for sure. But I will tell you this, there's only 2 pitchers in the league. I'm going to give Russ a little credit here. There was only 2 pitchers in the league when I was playing that we actually went over a scouting report for them, and that was Russ and Mike Hampton. So Russ was swinging a little bit.
Oh, wow. Well, I just Francisco just found this. So Roy, you were a 152 lifetime batting average, and Russ, you were 205.
Wow.
There you go. So that's pretty impressive for a pitcher, 205. Going back to just, we all know that there's a diversity of personalities, the way people were raised, values. Trevor Bauer, he's in the news. Everybody knows, he's on temporary leave right now. Baseball put him on leave. What are your thoughts on that? And just what's out there in the police report, what he's admitted to. How comfortable, and have you guys ever played with a teammate who you knew was accused of assault? And well, Roy, I don't know if you remember that day we were in the clubhouse and the police came and got Julio Lugo.
Yes, I did. I thought about that as soon as you said that.
I was like, we walk in and then you see like Houston Police Department walking out with Julio Lugo in handcuffs. You're like going, well, this isn't gonna be a regular. But what are your thoughts? We'll go with Roy first, and then Russ. What are your thoughts on Trevor Bauer, the pitcher, the personality, and just this latest news? And would you welcome a guy like that in your clubhouse?
Trevor is I'm going to use a unique person. By just I don't know him personally. I think he actually came up one year while I was playing, maybe in 01, 02, somewhere in there with Arizona. And I remember the number one thing I remember, and he was supposed to be a guy that was high, I guess, draft pick or close to first rounder or something. Well, he came up, I think his first start with Arizona may have been against us. I'm not sure. But anyway, I remember him standing on one foul line, and he was long tossing from one foul pole to the other foul pole the day he started. And I was thinking, that's a crazy thing to do. I mean, he's throwing pretty much pop-ups across.
How about I'll share my what I know.
Roy's computer froze for a little bit.
He had this unique workout, that he had before the game, which was kind of crazy to me. But Trevor's just he's a different guy. He's a real big social media guy. He loves putting stuff out there, different things. I've read some of the comments that's been online about him, that's coming out with this sexual thing, the sexual assault or whatever it's called. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I don't know his side of the story by no means, but just reading some of the stuff in the paper, that's a pretty tough thing to swallow if you're in that clubhouse. If it does come out and it's true, all of it's true, that's a tough pill to swallow, to be in a clubhouse with a guy like that, for sure.
Russ, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, having something like that happen, and that's a teammate, that would it'd be tough. I mean, that by no means would I judge the person at all, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those things where it's you are a major league pitcher on one of the most popular teams, in the country, in the world, making a ton of money. You put yourself out there on social media, market yourself a great deal. You have to be wiser than that. I mean, there's consequences to everybody's actions. I mean, I've done stuff that there's been consequences to. I mean, stuff off the field and everything. And but I think a lot of most of us are, we've probably done things that we're not proud of, but some of them came with consequences. Some of them didn't. And to me, what occurred was kind of a situation where, the way I look at it is that I think he has a lot of arrogance, you know, with this whole situation, that he thought he can do all this stuff and that no one would ever find out, that it would be put under wraps. You know, he trusted someone to not have this come out. I would tend to believe that that's, you know, and I think that's the arrogance part, is that you are, you know, almost bulletproof. And that's just my opinion, you know, of the situation. But, you know, if something like that happened with a teammate, even, you know, I mean, we're talking about, like even with Barry Bonds, I mean, he's, you know, obviously him and as well as a bunch of other like big time guys, you know, with steroids and stuff like that doesn't never change my view of him as a person. I mean, he was great with me. And so, so as a teammate, those guys, if they really know Trevor from a personal level, I guarantee you that he's talked to them on a real level and maybe even shared some things that he struggles with or whatever. But I don't think that would change my view of a teammate, you know, on a personal level. But from a professional level, I think it'd be one of those things where it's just, you know, you kind of look at it as like, we need you to be better. Just like Roy talked about earlier, is that, you know, you want to have guys on your staff that you can trust, that are going to be there every 5 days, that are going to be able to give their best. But if your attention is on other things and you are trying to achieve other things and trying to get away with other things, then you're not going to be at your best. And so from a professional level, that's where I would have a real problem, you know, with a teammate like that.
Well, you've been listening to Digging Deep in Ortiz podcast with former Major League All-Star Russ Ortiz and sports writer Jesus Ortiz, and special guest Roy Oswalt, former Astros ace. Roy, we're coming to the end. Thank you so much for joining us today, and what an enlightening conversation. I love talking to you, as you know, and I enjoy listening and learning from Russ on pitching. And we finish every podcast by asking the guest what advice they would give people listening to us. They give their kids, you'd give us. What's the go-to advice that you think people should follow? What do you tell your girls? What do you tell kids you talk to? And what do you tell your employees at Taste in Starkville, which we'll go visit, and 44 Steakhouse? That's the name, right? 44 Steakhouse?
44 Prime.
44 Prime Steakhouse. We're going to go visit that, hopefully, when the Aggies play in Starkville.
That's right.
But what advice would you give us?
You know, I tell my kids, my oldest one, she's the pitcher for the high school team here in Starkville, in softball, fast pitch softball. And my middle one plays basketball, and my youngest one, she loves softball also. And I tell them all the time is, you know, the number one thing you have to do as a person or as a player is you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, then your teammates are not going to believe in you. So when we're out there on the field, you carry that confidence on the field to show the other players or whatever that you know that no matter what it is, you're going to back up your players. Always, you know, players come first, your team comes first, and have the confidence on the field to show them that you're a leader, not a follower. To always, you know, present yourself as a person that's going to give, you know, 100% on the field, off the field. Doesn't matter what you do. I don't care if you're a player, anything in life. Doesn't matter what you're going to be. I want you to give 100% because it's going to show everybody around you the confidence that you have in yourself, and they're going to feed off of that. And I told them I think the number one thing that I could have got from anybody that I played with is everyone would tell you that when I got on the field, that I gave everything I could give, you know, on the field while I was out there for whatever time I was out there, and for your fellow players to tell, you know, people that that's one of the best players that I've got to play with on and off the field as a person and as a player. Same thing I tell the people at my restaurant. You know, I want people to brag around town on how you treat people. You know, treat everybody with respect. Doesn't matter where you come from, what you look like. Everyone deserves respect, you know, through life. So I think the number one thing that I would tell people is you know, do everything with confidence to feed off, so people will feed off of you.
Well, thank you very much. You've been listening to Digging Deep and our T-Squared podcast with Russ Ortiz, Jesus Ortiz, and special guest Roy Oswalt. Thank you very much. What a fun hour. We've settled that that Russ could hit. We've settled that Roy was
let him have a home run.
Huh?
Yeah, I let him have a home run. He one.
Yeah, he liked
one. There you go. And thank you so much. You know, as I've mentioned many times over the years, one of my all-time favorite men to cover. You know, and I'm so grateful that we got to do this and tell some stories. And I look forward to going down to taste and check out the restaurant in Starkville. Russ loves to golf, so I think y'all got golf courses down there in Mississippi.
Oh yeah,
right?
we got one right down.
There you go. We'll go golfing and go get some great food at 44 Prime in a couple months and taste. Thank you very much. Russ, do you have anything to say before we close out?
Well, I just want to say thanks, Roy. Great to see you. Great to talk to you. You know, the biggest thing that, well, real quick, just wanted people to realize, like, that I think you're one of the most underappreciated pitchers, you know, in the last probably 20 years. And so it was a pleasure to watch you pitch, pleasure to be your teammate, you know, and yeah, hopefully we can get down and come see you sometime soon. But I want to wish you the best with your restaurants and with your kids and all the things that you're doing. So
thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That's a very good point, Russ. I should have said that. I proudly voted for Roy for the Baseball Hall of Fame. I thought he deserved more support. But you know, everybody here in Houston appreciates what you did for this organization, led them to the World Series. And thank you very much. You've listened to Digging Deep in our T-Squared podcast with former Major League All-Star Russ Ortiz and sports writer Jesus Ortiz and special guest Roy Oswalt. Digging Deep is part of the Areskina Podcast Network. It was produced by Areskina. Thank you very much. See you next week.